So workflow wise, I kind of tend to, well, the first thing I'll do is I put some kind of clock down, and with that I would normally start with either my 606 or the 909. The benefit of the 909 is I've got everything split out individually, so I can have more control of, say, like for example, let's start this. So here we got like a hi-hat pattern. So this is it dry. So if we put a bit of the reverb on it, on the lexicon. And these delays, so I put some delay on it. These delays are kind of, I like to use two effectrons at the same time, just to kind of get a slightly wider sound. And then, so a lot of my tracks, you know, I'll kind of build up in this way, adding layers, and then once I've got it to a certain point, then I start taking stuff out, you know, and leaving more of the bare bones. But so now I've got like a kind of a rough rhythm, I will. So this is the MS-20 now. And so what I use I love this sequencer, the SQ10. A lot of people find it, I don't know if you've ever used one, but they are quite horrible to use as far as for anyone else who's in the room. And the slightest tweak, basically, you know, there's no locked points, and it's quite hard to get the notes. But some of my best work, I definitely think, has come from this sequencer. But this was the sequencer, the SQ10 for the MS-20. So this is just a rough, you know, quick line I did this morning to have something in here. And then, so we got, it's a bit kind of, hold on. Okay, and then my main sequencer that I use is this one, the Sam 16, and so the guy that builds this, as I said, he's got I think Florian Schneider is involved in this company, but I know that Sebastian, who built this, builds a lot of stuff, was building a lot of stuff for Kraftwerk at the time, and I didn't know he did the sequencer. I first got into his equipment via the Acme, and then used that box, and it was just kind of life-changing. And then I kind of checked out the sequencer. But as a non-musician, I tend to kind of write most of my stuff using the sequencer. It's an easier way for me to get my notes, to kind of spend the time. So this is like a sequence coming here. And that sequence is going to the Juno, which is probably I've had this synth for about 30 years, and pretty much, I think it might have been on pretty much every track I've ever done. And then, the 303 is a huge part of certainly of this new album, Future Rave Memory. The 303 was the kind of pretty much the main synth I think I used for the whole album, and just trying to see how much I can push it. I got it modded by Kenton a few years ago, so I could have a bit more control of different aspects of it. But currently, like this morning, I kind of just got it up on a keyboard, so I can control it from the keyboard as well. And let's put it. You know, I've always been really inspired by like Rodelius, and I was going to say kind of cluster and harmonia, but I think it was Rodelius's parts that I was more inspired by. And so for this jam, I tried to get something along those lines, so it was kind of multiple kind of like harmonic layers working off each other. Makes sense. Then we got the Moog, which is, this is one of the few MIDI Moogs. I think they're known as the Welsh Moogs. Someone made them under license, and they being MIDI. Then we got one, but I know that they're seen as a bit of a, people hate them, like servicing them. But anyway. But I tend to use the Moog a lot for kind of just the kind of tonal pads and stuff. We take the drums out. So I'm going to stop the song here 1 second. But one of the things that I think is quite important to stress about my kind of work processes. So what I'll tend to do is do something like this, where I kind of just get different melodies and a different, build the song up like that. And then what I'll do is, when I'm happy with each part, I'll put down each part individually, doing a pass where I never have an arrangement, but I do my arrangement with my passes, if that makes sense. So each pass I put down, I kind of have 7 minutes of the same jam, and I'll put the pass down in a kind of arrangement in my head. And the reason that is, I don't like to kind of go into editing. So I don't want to kind of have loads of kind of passes which I then have got to edit into a song. I like to kind of put the passes down in the structure of the song, and that kind of gets made up in my head. I've got the jam going, and all the instruments sound nice off each other, but I want to put a structure down. So each pass I put down, I'm kind of playing off the last one I did, if that makes sense. And then I'll record those passes down, so they're now into the computer. But then what I'll do is I will then put them through the desk again, through my chain of effects, and put them, and go through the same process again with the stems, where I put the stems down the effects. So I'm kind of retreating what I've already treated. And this, on future Rave Memory, I might have done 4 times on certain songs, trying to kind of degrade it, break it down, and just push it to a point where I'm I'm ready to kind of sign off from that particular sound. I guess one of the things that's is quite important for me is how lines work off each other, and a lot of that is I think really is using the Effectron so much, and not having delays that are kind of locked in exactly, and are kind of done more just by ear. And I think with as well, when I talked about processing my stems once I've recorded them, what I'll do, for example, this high watt tremolo pedal, which has got a valve. I think this is a valve one, but it's you can hear it here on the Moog. Here, let's put the pedal. When you're kind of getting everything locked in loosely like this, I think there's a lot more, stuff becomes a lot more, it starts to feel a lot more organic, and that's kind of what I want to make the machines. I want to feel like they are kind of alive, and bringing, working off each other, and kind of how they all sit. And then what I'm also using is I'm using the tape delay more. This 4-track, which I'm also using as a kind of summing mixer. So a lot of the stuff I'll kind of then put to tape and pitch, overdrive on certain channels, and kind of push it, trying to see how much I can push the sound. That's the constant kind of ideology that I think I'm kind of going through on the day's kind of working process.